What's happening, ladies and germs? This is the PackerMan, and welcome to today's edition of All Elite Review, where we're going to be reviewing the 36th episode of Dynamite from June the 24th, 2020. I'm just going to keep this super brief. This is going to be a very, very abbreviated review, since I haven't been able to get to it until today when it's supposed to be posted. So let's go ahead and run through this. The first match was a lumberjack match between Wardlow and Luchasaurus, and these two guys are athletic as all hell. I'll tell you that much. With Wardlow hitting like a Frankensteiner, Luchasaurus a Spanish fly, and like a shooting star press off the stage onto everybody. And I'm just like, what the hell, man? Got two very athletic big guys. But the finish came with Wardlow hitting a low blow and then the F10 and getting the 3 count for the victory. And then basically the whole thing just starts breaking down with the lumberjacks basically fighting each other and trying to hold back the Jurassic Express and MJF and Wardlow, and those two teams are going to collide at Fyter Fest this coming Wednesday night. But I gave this match 3.25 stars out of 5, and this time around Britt Baker's kind of in a plexiglass shield this time to see if she could kind of protect her from Big Swole. The next match was a squash match. Hikaru Shida basically hit Red Velvet with a Falcon Arrow and pinned her for the 3 right off the bat. Then went after Penelope Ford and also broke Kip Sabian's sunglasses. I only gave this 1 star out of 5. I mean, there wasn't really anything to this. And then, of course, we had the TNT Championship press conference between Cody and Jake Hager. And those two are going to be facing off on the first night of Fyter Fest. The only championship that's not going to be defended on night 1 is the World Championship. That'll be defended on night 2. But the other 3, the Tag, World, and TNT Championships, will be defended on night 1. So this coming Wednesday, we're going to have 3 championship matches on Dynamite, which I think is the most we've had on an episode of Dynamite so far. The third match was between what I now have dubbed the New Jersey Connection of Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela, since they're both from New Jersey, versus Brody Lee and Colt Cabana. The New Jersey Connection seem to really have things down pat as a tag team, even though they are 2 completely different personalities. But basically, the finish was Brody hit a discus lariat on Joey Janela and allowed Colt to cover him for the win. This was actually a pretty decent match overall. I gave it 2.5 stars out of 5. And then Lance Archer comes out and destroys the New Jersey Connection. Janela tries to stop him by throwing a chair at him, but Lance basically no-sells it. So we're going to have a match between Janela and Archer on Fyter Fest. I can't remember if it's on night 1 or night 2 though. So look at that, we're already through 3 matches. The fourth match was SCU against FTR. This was originally supposed to be FTR versus the Natural Nightmares, but unfortunately, QT Marshall was in close proximity with someone who eventually tested positive for COVID-19. So, for safety's sake, he decided not to show up this week on Dynamite, which I think is pretty smart on his part. And Jon Moxley, he wasn't able to show up this week either. He was actually supposed to take on John Cruz, which is the next match after this one, but his wife, Renee Young, also tested positive for COVID-19, so that's why Moxley decided not to come in this week, this past week on Dynamite as well, out of, safety's sake for everyone else. The highlights of the SCU FTR match, and it was a damn good tag match. Kaz got DDT'd into the floor by Dax after a tumbling suplex, and he basically just got driven right into the floor. Kaz hit a slingshot DDT. Cash with a Frankensteiner on Kaz. Daniels is STO on Dax. FTR hits what they call the Vegematic, which is basically like a clutch and a leg drop for a 2 count on Christopher Daniels. SCU hits a nice sit-out powerbomb neckbreaker on Dax. Daniels hits the Angel's wings on Dax for a 2 count, but FTR hits the Goodnight Express on Daniels for the 3 count and the victory. I gave this match 3.75 stars out of 5. Afterwards, Butcher and the Blade, they basically commandeer FTR's truck and challenge FTR and the Young Bucks to an 8-man tag match And oh, look who appeared behind FTR. The Lucha Brothers have returned. Of course, we had seen Phoenix mainly in singles competition, but of course he got injured before Double or Nothing, but he has returned, as well as Pentagon Jr., who we have not seen in quite some time due to this whole COVID-19 shit. So the Lucha Brothers attack FTR. I forget who they hit with their Zero Fear finisher. The Young Bucks come out and run them off. And the Lucha Brothers and the Butcher and the Blade basically take off with FTR's truck. So we're going to have an 8-man tag team match scheduled for Fyter Fest. The next match was a squash match. It was Brian Cage against John Cruz. Of course, Brian Cage is now up to number 2 in the rankings. This was supposed to be Jon Moxley against John Cruz, but of course, you know, I already told you about the situation there. Cage did a repping overhead fallaway slam, an arm trap, overhead belly to belly suplex, a border toss, and a drill claw. Got the 3 count and the win. Another big squash match. I gave it 1.5 stars out of 5. Taz starts talking trash to Moxley, you know, basically saying how, you know, Brian Cage is going to take the title off him at Fyter Fest. And then we see Big Swole basically jawing with Britt Baker. And I couldn't tell what happened, but I think like Swole got on top of the truck where the plexiglass thing was and started dumping trash onto Britt Baker, which I thought was pretty funny. And then you had the main event where it was supposed to be Sammy Guevara against Matt Hardy, but Guevara was suspended by AEW this past week for some pretty racy comments that he made that resurfaced from 4 years ago. Some comments he made about Sasha Banks, but he did talk to her and apologize to her and all that stuff, and has agreed to go through sensitivity training and all that shit, but he has been suspended without pay until further notice, so that kind of sucks. So instead it was Santana against Matt Hardy. Highlights: Santana hit a Lion Salt, Matt hit some side effects. Santana hit a Samoan driver, went for the pinfall, but Matt reversed it into a victory roll and got the 3 count and the victory. I gave this match 2.75 stars out of 5. Then Proud and Powerful attacked Hardy after the match and hit him with a street sweeper. Private Party come out and run Proud and Powerful off, and those two are going to have a match. Those two teams are going to have a match at Fyter Fest. And then in the main event time slot, you have Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho. Basically, Y2J was talking trash to Orange. Orange grabs the microphone. Looks like he's going to speak into it, but then just sets it down. Jericho grabs Orange's glasses and basically just breaks them, which sets Orange off. And these two start going at it. They go up through into the stands. Jericho actually hits Orange with like a camera gib, and it actually hit him like in the ear. He was bleeding pretty good from his ear. But then Orange hits a Superman punch on Y2J, which sends him through a table. So Orange getting the upper hand on Jericho on this go round, which sets up their match for Fyter Fest as well. So overall, I thought this was yet another watchable, if a little bit formulaic edition of AEW Dynamite, but certainly not as interesting, I think, as some of their other episodes, which is probably why NXT got their 6th win in the Wednesday Night Wars. NXT actually did pretty good. Actually, he did a little over 780,000 viewers, while this episode of Dynamite was actually their least viewed so far, just 633,000. But you see all these NXT dick suckers basically saying, "Yeah, we gotta win, yeah!" And it's like, dude, this is only NXT's 6th victory. You know, get that dick out of your mouth for a second and realize that they still got a long way to go if they want to catch up in this Wednesday Night War. That's all I'm going to say. But my final rating for the show, I'll give it a 5.75 out of 10. It was alright. It wasn't anything special. But that's going to do it for this super abbreviated review, edition of All Elite Review. But next up, we're going to be reviewing Night 1 of Fyter Fest. So that'll be interesting. But thank you very much for watching. And until next time, this is the PackerMan signing out. See you later.
You better like and subscribe or face the consequences. You have been warned.